Today we are going to discuss about a hybrid approach. I mean, the questions itself are not hybrid. The approach is hybrid, the project management approach that we'll be discussing. We'll see 5 questions on hybrid approach. The idea here is that at the end of today's session, you should be in complete understanding of the hybrid approach type of questions, and you should be able to solve almost all the hybrid approach type questions. Okay, that is the aim with which we will start today. There will be 5 questions that we are going to discuss, and just like we do it in our regular sessions, we will pause the screen on the question. You will go through the questions, and as soon as I receive 50-60% of responses, then I will discuss. Okay. In between, if you see any concept that you think is something that you need to know more about, or something that is not clear, or you have something in mind where you would like to twist the question and see, okay, what would be the answer then? Okay, please stop me, please ask me about it, and we will discuss that, because that's how we should review PMP questions, right? It is not about memorizing how to solve things, but it is about how to identify different twists and turns that might be there in the exam. Okay, because ultimately that's how we prepare. All right, so that would be my suggestion, and let us start with the first question that is right on your screen. Please go through this, put the answer in the chat box, and then we will discuss. All right. Thanks a lot for your responses. Those who are attempting, those who just joined, please keep attempting. Okay, or you can pause and can listen to the discussion. Okay. So let us start. Midway through a traditional approach project, you were informed of a change in regulations that could impact the final delivery of your product in certain regions. Okay, the regulations are not clearly defined, and you anticipate multiple communications from the officials. Your project sponsor is concerned about the loss that the project will incur due to this change in regulations. How should you revise the plan to reduce the impact? Okay, so the question is that we are managing a traditional approach project. Okay, we are midway through it, and at that point of time, we are informed that there is a change in regulations. Now, because of this change in regulations, and there would be some impact. Okay, and these changes are also not very clear. So that's the question. We are managing as a traditional approach. There is a change in regulations which could impact my project, and the sponsor is very concerned about its impact, which is a negative impact of loss. Right? So how should we revise the plan to reduce that impact? Let us see. Use the project reserves to improve the margin of the project. First of all, project reserves are also considered when we talk about the margin of the project. And using the project reserves is not going to help, because we don't know whether they are talking about cost or talking about any other kind of anticipated issues that might be occurring because of the change in regulations. So as such, this use of project reserve is not guaranteed. Okay, and does not look like a good option, does not look like something which would reduce the impact, might not even be related to the question. So we can eliminate this. Change the project management approach to agile from predictive. Okay, so now the question is that we are doing it in a traditional approach, regulations are not clear, which could create an impact in the project. So we should change the project management approach to agile from predictive. Looks correct. Okay, but this is where we need to be a little bit more careful, because these are difficult type of questions, right? So we have to be a little bit more careful and go back to the question and see whether if I go to agile, will it impact me or will it be a good decision, right? So what we need to do is we need to go back to the question, and when you do that, you will see that the question is saying that that could impact the final delivery of your product in certain regions, right? So there is a change in regulations happening, which is impacting a certain area of my work. Okay, so when I release the product into a market, it will impact my certain area. So it is not going to impact my whole set of project, but a part of it. Okay, now that is if my understanding, then why should I change the entire approach to agile from predictive, right? Maybe what I can do is I can take out that part which is not clear and manage it in an agile fashion. Okay, so B looks like a decent looks like a poor option, I would say. Okay, it does not look correct. It is not something that you can very clearly eliminate. So we can park it. We can say, okay, if there are no other options, then we'll have to do it. But as such, if you look at it, it does not look like right that, okay, we change the approach directly. Now, the question is, how would you identify that in your exam? Okay, I'm the trainer. I have made the question. I can do all these things, but how do you do it in the exam? See, in exam, whenever you see that there is an approach change for the entire project itself, be a little bit careful, be a little bit critical. Is it really necessary? Because think about it. It is not about this question. Think about your project. In your project, is it easy to change the entire approach from traditional to agile? If you say that, and as a project manager, if you suggest this, right, if that's your plan, that we will change the entire approach from predictive to agile, just imagine what would be the scenario in your project. What would be the backlash that you will receive from your team, from your management, right? So we have to think about those scenarios also. It is not just that, okay, we have taken a decision, but we have to think about the impact of that decision as well. How will we do that? What would be the impact of that decision? That also we need to think, because we are project managers. We cannot take decision just like that. Even if we have to take it in 1 minute, we cannot take it just like that. So my suggestion, whenever you look at this kind of statement in your exam, which is talking about huge decisions, this decision would have a huge impact. Are your team members trained for that? How are you going to change things? How are you going to manage the approach, the artifact, the documents that have already been created? Right? So it's a huge task. So be a little bit critical about any big decision that you take in the PMP exam. Okay, think about it a little bit. So for now, let us park it. Then we go to C. Okay, split out an agile track for impacted areas. Now this is saying that, okay, so if there is a certain region that is getting impacted, then we should do agile in that impacted area only. Let others be following the same thing, because there is no change in other areas. Okay, now this could be possible, and it looks better than B, because this is what we were discussing, right? That if we could identify this in while reading the question, that okay, it is impacting only certain regions, and one of the option is saying that okay, change the approach, but only for that impacted area. Okay, looks like a decent choice and looks like much better than B. Rather than changing the whole project, can we change the small part of it as well? Now this is a big hint that this is possible. Now when you think about hybrid, you think about mix of traditional and agile. Think of this as well, that when we are doing traditional approach, we may be required to do a part of the work in agile fashion. See, when you do part of the work, you can actually put up a little bit of training and you can get that job done. Whether it is a lot of agile and a little bit of traditional, that is also possible. But compared to changing the whole approach of the project management from agile to predictive, that is not that good a decision. That is why we will pick C over B. Right? Now let's look at D. Wait for more information about the regulations to prevent rework. Okay, we don't know how much we will have to wait. Right? So this is a decision that you are taking without much information. This is a decision that you are taking, C, with some information. B was also a decision with some information. Because of that information, we were taking a decision. So these decisions were justified. Okay, and both the decisions are justified. We have selected a better decision over the other. That's it. But if you look at D, this is not a decision that is justified. Okay, why? Why should I wait? Why can't I ask for information? Why can't I talk to the government officials and understand how much time it will take before they are clear on it, rather than waiting for more information? Right. So this is another hint for the exam. Waiting is not generally a good thing in project management. Okay, we don't wait, we respond to it. We don't react, but we respond to it. We say that, okay, this is fine. Let us understand. Let us analyze. Let us understand the impact. Decisions may be taken later. Actions may be done later, 1 week later, 2 weeks later, depending on the priority. Okay, but we don't wait for something. We don't neglect something. We don't ignore something. Right. So this is on that line, and hence we will eliminate this. Right. So one question. Okay, and we have seen multiple things. One of the most important part in this question is that whenever you see a big decision being taken, be a little bit critical about it. Check whether that decision is justified through the questions or not, because big decisions would need big changes in the project. Will you be able to do that? That's the question. Do you have a better option? Okay, so idea is to look for a better option. So look for any other option which could be a little bit better. C is that option. Okay, so that is one hint. Second hint is that we don't wait. We take actions, we respond, we act swiftly, we are proactive, but we don't generally wait. So when you see such words like wait, ignore, or do nothing about it, okay, something of that sort, again, be a little bit critical. Remember this, I'm always saying be a little bit critical. I'm not saying that just ignore that choice. Just be a little bit critical to see that, okay, is this justified? Do I really need to wait? And how much do I need to wait? So be a little bit critical, ask some questions to yourself. If you don't get an answer, ignore it. Not ignore it, eliminate it. Okay, C is the best choice. Any question in this, anyone? Yes, Kirti, please go ahead.
Amit, I'm a little confused. The reason is, how should we revise the plan to reduce the impact? Now, the regulation is not yet out. It's a risk which will be coming in future.
Correct.
So, to revise the plan, he would need information, right? Going So split out agile track will happen only when he knows what has been impacted, how much is the impact. So shouldn't he wait for more information before he goes for option C, which is
if you know what would be the impact and how much will be the impact, then you would not split out an agile track, right? Then you will say, okay, let us continue with traditional, because now we have known everything. Okay, that is one thing. So the idea here is that we are saying that we were trying to do traditional approach. There is certain area which is unknown to us. Okay, instead of waiting for information, can we split down an agile track so that for that particular track, we will do things in increments. So we'll build one thing, two things, and we'll, instead of waiting for information, let us build whatever is clear. Something would be clear, right? So we have been informed of changes in regulations, right? So these are not clearly defined, but maybe something would be clear. So let us start with that. This is what we do in Agile, right? Agile scope is not clear, requirements are not clear. So what do? We say, let us break down the whole project into 2 weeks iteration. So this is what we will do for that particular part of the project. We will do it in 2 weeks so that we don't do nothing about it. Okay, we build at least few things by the time we get more information. Or maybe we show few things to our government officials. They might understand a little bit better and they can clarify the requirement, right? That would happen only when you start showing the product. This is what we do with Agile, right? Customers are not clear with requirements. So we say, let us break down the whole product into small chunks so that we can show it to the customer. Customer, when sees the product, they also become aware of the requirement. They might suggest few things, suggest some changes. So we make our customers also more knowledgeable with Agile. This is why we are doing this.
Yes, Amit, very clear. And I have one more question, which is not here, but I have seen choices where one choice will be change the approach to Agile from predictive or Agile, and there will be another option, shift to hybrid.
Shift to hybrid. Okay.
It means change to hybrid, right?
Understood.
And I have seen that in 2 questions, that one of them is saying part Agile, part traditional, and next option is hybrid. Doesn't it mean the same?
Yeah, it means the same. It means this. So probably the quality of question need to be improved, or if you can send me the screenshot, maybe there is something specific which while reading the option or reading the question, we are missing it. So if you send the screenshot, we can have a discussion around.
Sure, sir. Thanks. Thank you.
Do take these screenshots, okay? Because see, now if you try to find it, you will not find it, right? Because you have 500, 600 questions to go through, you might not be able to find it. So this is a suggestion for everyone that when you have any doubt, at least take a photo, at least take a screenshot of it. So that what would happen is that maybe not at that point of time because you were busy or you didn't want to talk or anything, right? But at least later you can discuss that. Because those clarifications are important, because maybe it is not about hybrid and traditional and agile. Maybe it is about something else, which is written in the option, which is wrong. Maybe in the sentence, something is so blatantly, obviously wrong that we will not select that option. It could be possible, right? So this is what we have to identify in the exam. So please, for that matter, take a screenshot, send it to me on WhatsApp. If I'm in the session, I may not respond immediately, but definitely later I would respond to it. Okay?
Thank you, Amit.
Thanks a lot for that. Now, yes, somebody is saying something. Okay, if not, then which knowledge area are we talking about here? Kirti said this is a risk. Okay, so is it a risk or an issue? What do you?
It's a risk.
Okay, others?
Risk.
Anyone who thinks it's an issue that we are already facing, or have a doubt between risk and issue, please ask your doubts, because this needs to be very, very clear. If you're clear on this, I'm telling you, you will be solving 30, 40 questions easily in the PMP exam if you can identify the difference between risk and issue. Anyone who has a doubt, I hope it is clear. We discuss a lot of these things in training program. So this is a risk. And what is the kind of response that we are taking here in terms of risk response? See, this is a revision session, so I'll be asking a lot of questions. Which response is this? Which are the type of responses, first of all? 5 type of responses that we take on risks. What do we call it? Even if you want to explain, you don't want to remember the term, that is also fine. Yes, please, anyone?
So risk to somebody, mitigate, prevent, escalate.
Avoid.
Okay, others? Yes. Avoid.
Eliminate, reduce.
Eliminate.
Divide.
Which is avoid. Reduce, which is mitigate. Someone was saying escalate. Yes, please.
Accept.
Transfer.
Yes.
Escalate.
Escalate is there.
Okay.
Accept. Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. So what is this talking about? What is this response, or what is the question talking about? Which kind of response? Mitigate. Right. So we are not able to eliminate the risk, right? There is still a risk. There will be impact. Maybe there will be some loss, whatever loss they are talking about. Okay, but this is mitigate. Mitigate means reducing the impact, right? Avoid means avoiding the risk completely, eliminating it. Escalate means something which is not within our authority, and we are asking somebody else within our organization to take care of it, right? Transfer means we are finding that person who is ready to take our risk on their head, okay, for some reason, and the reason is obvious, that they will get money for it, right? So that is what we will do. We'll find contractors, we'll find insurance company, we'll find somebody who can take that risk on them, because that is their profile. That is what they do. They take risks. And accept is for low priority risk, low probability and low impact risk, which might not happen in the project, very less chance that it will happen. So for that, we don't plan a response. Accept is not planning a response in fact, okay? And hence, if you Google about it, okay, you will see only 4 responses. But if you go to PMI about it, you will see the 5th one also, because this is also a response. We are writing this down in the risk register somewhere. The idea from PMI is that we should not ignore it. Let us keep it. Let us monitor it. Let us not plan any response for it, but let us monitor it so that we ensure that, okay, this risk might not get escalated later, right? And only for that reason. So this is our 5th response, right? So my suggestion, It is not about number of questions that you answer in the practice exam, mock exams. How many mock exams have you done? 1,000, 10,000 questions. It doesn't matter. Okay. 200 to 300 questions properly analyzed like this, spent time trying to identify what they are talking about, which knowledge area they could be talking about, what is this response, what else can happen. Spending time on the question is very, very beneficial. See, if you spend 5 minutes doing 5 questions or 5 minutes doing 1 question, my vote will be to 5 minutes doing 1 question. Spend that time reviewing, not doing, I mean, in the online exam, you'll miss the time. But when you're reviewing, spend 5 minutes on every question. It will be very, very beneficial, and you'll see that the next set of questions that you do, you are able to do it very quickly.
Okay. I mean, so basically the risk is before it occurring and the issues after risk occurs.
Absolutely. So risk is where you will always see things in future. Okay. They will be talking about future things, which is not certain. Future is not certain, right? So it is uncertain. Issue is present or past, something which has already occurred. So here we are saying that that could impact the delivery and is concerned about the loss. We anticipate multiple communication. So we are talking about the risk here. So we are trying to reduce the impact of that risk. Yes, Sushant, please go ahead.
Amit, is it risk or is it change?
Risk or change. See, risk or issue is differentiated, but change would always be there. See, if you are planning to change something, it will be changed. So you cannot say that change and risk are two different things. Risk would always involve change.
See, change results risk.
Change.
Change results risk. Right? If you are doing any change in our plan, then that would be that could be a risk, or that which is positive and negative both. So risk is result of change.
Risk is result of change. Risk is result of our work. Okay. Change may also include risk. It is not that always if you do any change, there will always be some risk. See, risks are associated with almost every activity. So whether we do any work in the project or we are making any change, there will always be risk. Risks are associated with the risks also. Right? So there are connected risks. So risks are always present.
So my second question is, this risk was not identified during the planning phase.
Correct.
It is happening in between the during the execution phase.
Midway through the project, yes.
Yeah. So so you mean to say that the risk response or risk register, risk management plan would be continuously upgraded and updated throughout the project cycle, life cycle?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In everything, not just risk register, stakeholder register, any project management plan, any document, WBS, whatever we are using. Okay. These all documents will be updated, will be revised throughout the project. Even if we are talking about traditional approach project, because there will be little bit changes, there will be little bit of mistake, there will be issues that we will face, there will be new risks that we will be identifying. Okay. And for all those reasons, every document, there may be 1 or 2 documents. Okay. But other than that, every document will always be revised and updated throughout the project.
My third point is, now, since we are getting this risk during our midway of the project or execution phase of the project, then which may result to do my cost estimation also.
Yes.
Right. So my cost baseline could change because I am doing changing splitting out my approach plan itself.
Correct. Absolutely.
So that is also needs to be changed updated again.
Yes. 100%.
Then I have to go for, if it is like change. It is turning out to be a hybrid. Then I may have to go for the change management CCB approval also.
Yes.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
that is what.
Exactly. And thanks for bringing that up, because this is a very important understanding that whenever we change these things, we will have to go through those integrated change control, because that is important. Okay, we are still, for now, we are managing traditional approach, so we'll still be going through change control board, and it is important to understand that these will incur definitely changes, and we'll have to manage it. So entire project changes, right? We are changing the entire plan. So project was traditional, now it is suddenly hybrid. So the entire, almost half of the world is changing for the project.
So, Amit, just one question from this discussion. is that we will revise the base cost baseline after exhaust of the reserved amount, right? What is the taken under the PM? There is no
Reserves are taken for a particular purpose. Okay. When we are talking about contingency reserve, then it is within our budget. It is for low priority risk. If that risk happens, we will use our contingency reserve. If not, for anything else, we will have to change our plan. Right? Because management reserve is not something which is a part of my budget. It is something that management has kept for themselves. They will provide us the money, but not without changing the plan. Right? So first we'll have to change the plan. I mean, first we'll have to do our analysis, everything. We'll have to take approval from management. We need to be clear on that. And once they have agreed that, yes, go ahead, we will provide the money, then we need to come back. We need to change our plan. We need to revise our baselines as may be required. Okay, if required, as may be required, then we'll take a sign off. Okay, and then we will implement that change. So this is the whole process, complicated process that we must go through.
Yes. So the budget would come from management reserve, but we need approval over here.
Okay, so when you say budget, then we are talking about something that we have committed to, something that we have asked as project manager. Okay, in that budget, money will be added. Okay, so my budget will be increased if they are putting in money. Okay? I mean, that's what you also said. I understood, but because that term is not budget, and that's why I was talking about this.
Okay.
It's not a part of the budget. It will come additional. So it will be additional from the initial budget. It will be a revised budget.
It's a revised budget, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So now let us move to the next one. Again, go through the question and then we'll discuss. All right, so let's discuss this. Your project sponsor has invited you to the project initiation meeting to help them choose the right approach of managing project. She informs you that there are two deliverables in the project. One deliverable has strict schedule with clear requirements, while the work on requirements of other deliverable is still going on. Okay, so kind of very clear question, right? And will this be asked in the exam? Will questions like this will be asked in the exam? Yes. Okay, majority of the questions would be medium level questions. You don't have to worry a lot about it. Okay, the questions that we see in our live training, the questions that we see during our discussions, okay, these are difficult level questions predominantly, majorly, because it should tell us about multiple things and it should make us think about it. There should be some word which changes the meaning, so that we are prepared for those kind of questions as well. Will you see these such questions also in the exam? Yes. Right. So what will you suggest? One deliverable has strict schedule, so it talks about traditional. Clear requirements talks about traditional, while the work on other requirements of other deliverable is still going on, which means work on requirement is going on. So it suggests us that it is agile, where we don't have clear requirements, so we may have to deliver in incremental fashion. Okay, so let's look at this. The options. Select a fully agile project model. Definitely not. Traditional plus agile. And this is exactly what you're going to see in the exam. Sometimes the language would be a little bit twisted. Sometimes they would give you 2 more sentences to read. Okay, but ultimately, when they are asking you to select hybrid approach, this is exactly what would happen. Okay, that one part of the question is talking about traditional approach. Another part is talking about agile approach. It could be mindset, it could be team arrangement, it could be on requirements, on scope, it could be anything else, right? But ultimately, they are talking about the traditional and agile approaches. Okay, the moment you see both the things and you are asked to select an approach, go for hybrid. Select the waterfall approach model for deliverables. No, neither agile nor waterfall. We have to find a mix. Select agile for deliverable 1 and traditional for deliverable 2. Actually, traditional for deliverable 1 and agile for 2. So D is better than C. Okay. All of you answered also correctly. Any doubt, anything that came to your mind while you were answering this question, anyone?
Bharat, this side. So
Yes,
I
please.
just had one question. Right now, my question is none of the option, assuming I have an option like select hybrid model. If that was given in my option, since here a mix of traditional and agile both is there, assuming instead of D, if they have given hybrid model.
See, this is exactly what is meant by hybrid model. Okay, so instead of writing down the term, they have explained it. Okay, hybrid model is not a separate approach. Okay, hybrid model is just a mix of traditional and agile. One part would be traditional, one part would be agile. We can run both in parallel also. It will be called hybrid. So hybrid is not a separate approach. We don't study hybrid. Right? Like in traditional, we talk about 49 processes. We talk about 5 process groups and everything. Right? In agile, we talk about Scrum. We talk about managing the flow of the work. We talk about iterations, releases, and all the things. But in hybrid, we don't talk about that. Why? Because hybrid is nothing but a mix of traditional and agile. So we say partly we will do traditional, partly we will do agile. So what they are saying here is just explaining the word hybrid. So what you're saying is actually correct, that if we had hybrid, then nothing beats that. We would select hybrid. But most of the times, and most of the questions that you will see, almost 150 to 155 questions that you will see, they will not be talking about those terms directly. They would be explaining that term so that it is easier for us to understand and relate what they're talking about. And we don't need to memorize those terms that we see. This is exactly what would happen in exam. And there's a reason for that. Because this is a global exam, right? We are doing projects in India. Somebody would be doing projects in some other country. They would be using different terms. Even in the same country, people use different terms for talking about a particular thing. Right? So they want to eliminate that thing and they want to use general words. Now, agile, traditional, these are general words. Deliverables, these are general words. So most of the times in the exam, you are going to see general words only. Okay, so they will be explaining the terms and we will have to select them.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for that.
Yeah, Amitji, is meaning of waterfall project and the traditional project is same?
Yes, 100%. No differences. Traditional, waterfall, plan driven, and one more, predictive. In the project management sense, there is no difference in whatever you see here. Okay, predictive means you can predict a lot of things. Traditional, because traditionally this is the approach people have been using. Waterfall, because waterfall happens in sequence, right? One after the other. So traditional approach is where we do things in sequence because we can predict a lot of things. That is why we call it waterfall. Plan driven is because we sit for almost 25% of the time in the project and we plan, right? And we drive the project through plan. That is why it is called plan driven. For agile, the terms are adaptive, okay, agile, and change driven. Right? Adaptive, because our framework is developed in such a manner that we need to be adapting to changing circumstances around our environment. Technology is changing, it is bringing new possibilities, so we need to adapt. Rather than saying that, okay, rather than crying over why things are changing and I cannot handle it, we need to adapt. We need to be prepared for it, right? That is why it is called adapt. Agile means being flexible. It's almost the same meaning. That we are adapting to circumstances means we need to be flexible. Agile also means fast. So we deliver very quickly, right? So we say that we will divide the project into iterations of 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, we'll build some increment. After 2-3 months, we'll release into the market. So we are delivering quickly into the market. Although we are delivering only the part of the product, but we are going quickly into the market. Change driven, because the entire idea is driven by change. Right? We don't sit and plan for the entire project and follow it. We say that we know that there will be changes. So why to plan for everything? Plan only that thing which is known. Right? So this is the difference. Although you didn't ask for it, but I think it was important to discuss this. Is that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, Nirmal, go ahead, please.
If it is mentioned somewhere, it's on dynamic requirements, then it will be definitely agile, right? They will be mentioning that.
Dynamic requirement means agile. Yes, absolutely. Dynamic means we are anticipating that there will be a lot of changes. Maybe what they are currently saying, they might change it, they might remove it, they might add multiple things. If it is dynamic, then yes, agile.
Thanks.
All right. Let's move to the next question. All right, so let's discuss this. The production head of your organization wants to redesign the factory layout to incorporate the new process that production team has developed. So this is a project where we are trying to incorporate a new process. The team chose agile approach of project management and divided the projects into 2 weeks iteration. The production head is not happy because the project isn't delivering any value. What do you think went wrong? See, they wanted to redesign the factory layout to incorporate the new process. And for some reason, they decided to go with 2 weeks iterations and agile approach. Right? Now, the production head is not happy. Why? Because the project isn't delivering any value. So what do you think went wrong? See, this part of the question, as I have been telling, is the most important one. Right? So this suggests us that whatever the production head is not happy about is correct. So whether they are not happy about the correct thing or wrong thing is not a question. And the question is, what went wrong? So we have to identify what did we not do or what did we do wrong because of which the head is not happy. And why is not happy? He or she, because the project is not delivering any value. Okay, so let's see. Team used iterations instead of sprints. Okay, I mean, iterations and sprint, just the same thing. Just like we discussed, traditional, predictive, plan-driven, right? Same thing, iteration and sprint, same thing. Iteration is a general agile term. Sprint is a term used in Scrum framework. That's the only difference. Otherwise, meaning-wise, nothing is different. For PMP, definitely no difference. Okay, so team used iterations instead of sprints does not make sense. Wrong delivery cadence was selected. All right, so if we select a wrong delivery cadence, first of all, what do we mean by wrong delivery cadence? Cadence means the frequency. Okay, so when we say 2 weeks iteration, we will be building the product, right? We'll be building a component of the product within that 2-week iteration. So if we say wrong delivery cadence, it means that this frequency is somewhere wrong. Probably it should happen 1 week or 3 weeks. Okay, now let us see whether this would result in not delivering value. Is it possible? It is very much possible that our user stories in this project is complex, which might not get completed in 2 weeks. Okay, probably if it was 3 weeks, probably if it was 4 weeks, right, then maybe we would have done that. Okay, we would have built something, some user story which would actually deliver value. So currently what is happening in 2 weeks, they're building something, they're getting that feature and it is running also, but for customer it is of no value. Right? So can this be a result of not delivering value? Yes, it is possible. And this is what we are looking at. Okay, we don't have to make 100% connection that yes, definitely because of this only they are not delivering value. We have to find something which could relate to that. Can this? Yes. So we'll park it. Okay, then we go to C. A dedicated agile coach was not assigned. Now, agile coach would help the team in running agile projects properly. But as such, just because they are not assigned, will it result in not delivering value? No, right? It's not related. It is helpful, but it's not related. So we can eliminate it. Then we go to D. Team did not keep production head engaged. Okay, now, if you misunderstand the question, okay, then you may select this as a choice. That the production head is not happy because team did not keep them engaged. Right? But that's not the case. The cause is already mentioned in the question. Production is not happy because the project isn't delivering value. Right? So you don't have to find another reason for why production head is not happy. You have to find out why project is not delivering value. So you are going for root cause of unhappiness or why production head is sad suddenly. Right? So this is a very, very important part. And sometimes it is clear, sometimes it is not clear, but keep this in mind. Okay, because you are going to see this in exam probably repeatedly. Right? That this is an impact, right? The cause of which is already known. And then question is asking what do you think went wrong, which means they are asking for another cause, not for why they are not happy, but for this part. Okay, this cause is already known to us, and hence this is also eliminated. B is the correct choice. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, clear, especially why D is wrong, because that is important, because this is what you're going to see in other questions also, right? So there would be a problem mentioned. They will be asking reasons for it. Sometimes they will give the reason and they're asking for the root cause, I mean, reason for that particular problem happening. So one level D. Let's go to the next question.
Amit,
Yeah,
sorry to stop you.
No, please.
Iteration means phases, right?
Iteration means phases. Okay, phase is different. Iteration is a cycle which we use in Agile to divide the work. Okay, so within that iteration, we say that we will do component of the work. Now, it is similar to phases, but phases has a different meaning. What happens with phases is that phases does not end up in you building something. It might not always end up in that. Right? You can say that my phase is only solution phase or design phase or prototype as a phase, right? But the prototype is not useful product. Design is not a useful product. Although you will be delivering it to the customer for checking and everything, but those are not useful product. Iteration must always result in something useful. It should always result in something valuable. And this is exactly the reason why production head is not happy. Right? So that's the difference. Although in principle, if you look at it, it looks similar with that we are dividing the project into multiple cycles, multiple small segments, but there's a difference. Phases will end up with something deliverable to the customer, which might not be a component of the product, useful component of the product. It could be just the design drawing or any paperwork also. Right? But iteration should always result in something that we have developed in terms of product. Some deliverable would always be built at the end of iteration.
Okay, got it. And sprint, multiple sprints will be there in one iteration, right?
No, iteration and sprint are just the same name. No difference. Just like we discussed, traditional plan driven is the same thing. Iteration and sprint are the same thing. Release is where we have multiple iterations and multiple sprint within that. So iteration, sprint, same thing. So release have multiple iterations. You call it iteration or you call it sprint, it's the same thing.
Now clear. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, Ketki, go ahead.
Amit, quick one. So sorry, Amit.
Oh, yeah,
so
go
can
ahead.
you just explain a little bit again about delivery cadence?
Delivery cadence means delivery frequency. Okay, how many times will you deliver and what would be the duration of that delivery? Okay, for example, let us say that currently the building that you are sitting in currently, okay, that building, if it is of number of floors, was divided into number of floors. So that delivery cadence was one floor at a time, one floor after every 6 months. So that is my delivery frequency. Same thing is with agile projects, right? So they have selected 2 weeks iteration, which means they would be building a component of the product every 2 weeks. That is called delivery cadence. Delivery cadence means frequency of delivery to the customer. How many times, how often, and after what, how much, what duration of time will we be delivering? Clear?
Yeah. But so if they did select 2 weeks frequency, how come they didn't produce results?
Because they selected it wrong. See, what happened is, think about the projects that you would be doing. Okay, some projects would be complex, some would be simple. Okay, in complex projects, you may have to work, your team may have to work for 4 weeks, and only then you can build something valuable, which means only then you can build a feature that any customer can use. In simple projects, you may work only 1 week and you deliver 2-3 valuable things. Right? So that is what went wrong. Team thought it is simple, we can do it in 2 weeks, but it was complex.
Okay, get it. Thanks.
Great. Yes, any other question?
Amit, yep. Could you just explain the option D again?
Okay. See,
Why isn't it right?
yeah. See, the question is the production head is not happy because the project isn't delivering value. Okay. And ultimately the question is, what do you think went wrong? Right? So the question is not asking why production head is not happy, because we already know that. Production head is not happy because the project is not delivering any value. And what do you think went wrong means, what do you think went wrong that the project isn't delivering value? If we read this question wrong, then we may be looking for answer why production head is not happy, but that is already there in the question. Right? So team did not keep production head engaged. That could result in production head being not happy. Okay, but that does not mean that the project isn't delivering any value. See, whether I keep them engaged or do not keep them engaged. Okay, I would still be delivering value. Right? Production head might not be in the position to give me the exact requirement which would deliver the value. That work would be done by the product owner. Right? Product owner and team will decide that. So that might not result me in team not delivering value. It might result in production head not being happy. But that's not the question. The question is why the project isn't delivering value. Clear?
It's clear, Amit, but the wrong delivery cadence doesn't mention that they thought it was a simple job. Maybe it was maybe they selected a longer time than it was needed. It was a simple job.
No, but then it will not deliver the value. See, that's what I'm saying. We don't have to exactly find that, yes, this is the only reason because of which it happened. We have to see, can wrong delivery cadence result in project not delivering value? Think about it. Your question is, can wrong delivery cadence result in project not delivering value? Is that answer yes or no?
Yes.
Right? And that's why we have
Yes.
selected.
Okay, thank
So
you.
we have to just find a likelihood. We don't have to exactly 100% think about, okay, maybe they have selected 1 week, maybe they have selected 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We don't have to worry about that. We have to just see, can this result in that? So yes, and we don't answer it, right? We don't immediately say, okay, correct. We say, yes, this could be a reason. And then we try to find out whether there is a better reason or not. If not, then this is correct. If yes, then that would be correct. Yes, Sushant, you raised hands, please go ahead.
What is the technical
Amit,
difference?
Sorry, this my question is not related to this. I just got confused again. Could you please explain this user story features, epics, and theme? Just for brush up, yeah.
Okay, I'll very quickly do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So what happens is when the product owner is talking to the customer, okay, they talk about functionalities, right? They talk about values. They talk about the objectives, right? Customer client would not talk about features. They might if they know it, otherwise they won't, right? Now, these functionalities would be converted into user stories by the product owner. Right? Now, when they are converting into user story, for their simplicity, when they start thinking about it, when they start analyzing it, and when they start converting it, okay, they may start with a large user story, which can still be broken down into small user stories, and every of those small user stories would deliver value. Right? So they may come up with something huge. That huge thing is called epic. Okay, then epic is broken down into features. So what would the product owner do? The product owner would understand the value. See, value is a very huge thing, right? Very, very high thing. Within that value, within that functionality, they understand what kind of features we can deliver. While they are discussing that, they might end up with understanding some huge user stories. That becomes an epic, which is, you can think it as a bigger deliverable, right? Then that epic is divided into features, which means the product owner tries to divide every user story that they look at practically. And they say, can I break it down into certain features which would still deliver value? They can, and it will be features. It will be called features. Now, they will look at features and they'll say, okay, can I divide these features into multiple user stories so that it can be distributed among team members and they can complete it. And at the same time, every user story would still deliver some value independently. Right? Then they would break down features into user stories. Right? So user stories are something that must be completed every iteration, how many ever user story has been selected. Right? These user stories are then broken down into tasks, which are also activities. Task activities means what am I going to do, right, in order to deliver that user story. So that's the whole idea. Epic is a larger user story, right? This can be broken down into multiple features. Those features are broken down into user stories. User stories are broken down into tasks. And the reason is same. Why do we break it down? Because in order to move a mountain, we need to break it down into smaller stones. It becomes more manageable. That's why we create WBS. That's why we have this breakup as well. But we don't display it anywhere. This display is never done. Mostly it is discussed in terms of user stories, which are there in product backlog. It is only for understanding. So when the team does not understand anything, product owner can use this decomposition to explain them. It is not recorded anywhere. We don't create documents. We create only product backlog with user stories. So when they are creating the user story, when they are displaying it on a wall or creating in a software, they can have that categorization that this is for particular feature, we have these user stories. If it helps in visualization, by all means, they should do it, but documentation is not created.
And what is theme?
Theme, again, same part. See, what happens, and this is exactly the reason why you will not see all these things. These are very, very organization framework specific. Okay, epics, themes, chances that you are going to see in the exam is absolutely nil. Okay, what they will talk about is user stories, because this is something that everybody is using. Epic and feature, there's a big confusion along with the theme. Okay, whether epic should come first, feature should come first, or theme should come first. So for now, what would be tested or what we should know for PMP exam is that epic, features, theme, these are bigger than user stories. They need to be broken down into user stories for us to manage. If you remember that, nothing else is required.
Yeah, no, there was a question actually. I could recall when we discussed this value part. It's like, the team members and wanted to had a concern of not delivering the value, and they proposed to divide the work as per the functionality of the product. And there are all these options: epic, theme, feature, and user story.
Same answer. Take a screenshot. We can discuss that. Okay, because that becomes specific. Generally, this is the idea. Okay, for specific questions, if you have taken this, if you have seen it or you have taken the screenshot, then share it with me. Or if you see it again, then we can share it with. Otherwise, for the exam part, knowing that epics, user features, themes, these are all bigger than user story is good enough for us.
Okay.
So,
One question.
yeah.
User story is provided by the client or the customer, or it is created by the product owner?
Product owner along with the team sitting together, and they will build the user story. Clients, it is a client side story. It is a client side story. So if clients can provide it, our life will be easy. But generally, we create it.
So how product owner will create the story based on the user perception, or what
not perception, based on the discussion with the customer.
Okay, means he will directly interact with the end user.
Yes, he or she, who is the product owner, will directly talk to the customers, not the end users. Customers will be talking to end users. They would be doing their market research. Product owner, if they need to understand through some users, they will pick some sample users and they might talk to them. But that is very specific case. Generally, product owner would talk to the client, the customer, the person for which we are building the product. Okay, they will be selling it to the users, end users.
Okay, so based on the discussion with the customer, product owner will create the story, and the team will work on that,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Daniel, you were saying something. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So can we say that under cadence we have multiple story pointers? Can we conclude like this?
Yes, we can have multiple user stories, and every user story would have certain estimate called story points. So user story, the unit of measurement of user story is a story point. So yes, we will have multiple story points.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, let's move to the next one. All right, so let's discuss this. You're managing a construction project that would incorporate a fire safety technology to protect the residences from any mishaps. Okay, you have completed similar projects before, but recent advancement in technology renders part of the project uncertain. Okay, how should you respond? So, question is similar to what we discussed. I think it was the first question. Okay, where we discussed that part of the project for some reason was uncertain and part of it was clear, and we use hybrid approach for traditional for the clear part and agile for the unclear part, right? It is, I think it is just the same. So A, manage the project using Agile project, considering the uncertainty in technology. Yes, there is an uncertainty in technology, but not on the entire project. There are a few things that we have already done before. Okay, the recent advancement in technology is causing the uncertainty, and that is only for the fire safety technology, not for the building. Okay, so we can eliminate this. Start constructing the building using traditional approach by the time you receive clear information on technology. If you see this question, see this option, okay, it is again saying the same thing, that we are waiting without understanding the impact of what would happen. Okay, so we are saying that, okay, let us start constructing by the time we receive clear information on technology. What if we don't? Okay, by the time we complete it and we don't have that information available. So this is like, again, continuing the project using a particular approach and then waiting till I receive information on technology without knowing how much we will have to wait. Okay, so looks like a okay option, but if other options are bad or worse than this, then we will select this. Otherwise, this does not look like correct one. We cannot immediately eliminate it. Okay, because it is not a bad thing to do, but we know through our analysis that we have to be critical about few things. This is saying that we will have to wait. Right, so we are doing few things. By the time we receive clear information technology, we need to do something about it. If it is uncertain, then we need to do something about it. We cannot say that, okay, we'll do this part, but we'll wait till this gets over. Okay. Use hybrid approach to manage the two separate parts of project. Is it clear? There are two separate parts of project. Yes. One is fire safety technology. Another is the uncertain part. So there are two parts of the project, and we are saying that we will use hybrid approach to manage the two separate parts. Now we have to think which one is better, B or C. Right? B is saying continue building the traditional approach. Okay, by the time you receive clear information on technology. Right? See, recent advancement in technology. Why do we use Agile approach? We would have still waited if technology would get clear. Okay, we know that we will not get clarity. That is why we are using Agile approach. We will have to build that clarity, and it's a very important understanding. Okay, if you know that we will get that clarity, then we will not use Agile approach. Here, we are not sure whether we will get that clarity or not. Right? If we know we will get the clarity, we will wait. We will get the clarity, we'll use the traditional approach. The reason we use Agile approach is because we have to build the clarity by building the product. Okay, and I use that example in our training also, right? That when you go to a shop and you use a mobile phone, right? As a customer, you may not know whether you need 2 cameras or 3 cameras or 4 cameras. By showing that product to you, you take pictures, you take videos, you take selfie, whichever you like, you select. So what has happened there? The salesman, okay, who was selling the product to you, they helped you understand the requirement. This is what we do as project team. We help build the requirement. Right? So here we are not sure whether there would be any clarity or not. So can we use Agile approach? Yes. So let us use Agile approach. That is better than waiting to see that, okay, whether we receive the clear information or not. Right? And hence C here is better than B. When we go to D, don't initiate the project till you receive more information on technology. It doesn't make any sense because we are already managing a project. Okay. So there's no point of initiating. Yes, Nirmal, you raised hands, please go ahead.
Amit, I answered C, but just an understanding about the project.
Yes,
but I understand the project that it is an ongoing project where the technology for the fire safety is not clear. Due to which a particular portion or the part of the project is going to be uncertain, means basically planning or how it is to be.
Right.
So my understanding is that when we say this, use hybrid approach to manage two separate parts of the project, it may be this way also, right? Use the traditional approach for construction of the building and use the Agile approach for the fire technology.
Yes, absolutely. So
Correct?
they can mention that option as well. So either they will give you in this way, or they will say in the way that you are explaining it, which we saw in first question, right? And hence we are not seeing it here because it will be just a repeat.
Yeah, why I asked this, because you said there are two different parts, and you spoke about only the technology here and the project uncertain, but the
Oh, okay.
different parts are one building and another
Yes.
platform.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks a lot for that. Okay, I probably missed it. So yes, one part is construction of the building, other part is fire safety technology. Okay, and the construction part, we have completed similar projects, which means construction part is something which I've done before. The fire safety technology is something which is uncertain. So this is my agile part, and this is my traditional. Thanks a lot for bringing that up. Any question, anyone, before we go to the last question of the day? All right, so let's go to number 5. All right, so let's see this. In order to overcome the challenges faced due to prevalent pandemic in the world, officials decide to roll out a vaccine development and injection drive across the country. The uncertainty in the development of vaccine may block the deployment of injection at vaccination center. So there is some uncertainty in deployment of injection. Okay. However, the deployment is independent of the development and can be planned in detail once the vaccine is developed. So this is kind of confusing. So always, if you find it confusing, spend some more time. Okay, don't rush solving the question unless you have understood what they are talking about. How can they say uncertainty in development and then it is independent of development? So what is happening here? So let us see, do that. Okay, use that as an example, because I know what the answer is, but this is something that you might face. Okay, so please spend time, 5 seconds, 10 seconds if you are confused. Okay, you will see some easier questions also. So it is okay to spend 5 seconds, 10 seconds, because then it will help you in solving the options. The options are not longer to read, right? And by reading it, you will not get anything unless and until you have understood the question. So that is my suggestion. Uncertainty in the development of vaccine may block the deployment of injection. So they are saying uncertainty is in the development of vaccine, not on the deployment of injection, because this will block the deployment. Okay, so uncertainty is in the development of vaccine at vaccination center. However, deployment is independent of the development. So the deployment that we are talking about is independent of the development. So development could be uncertain, but my deployment does not depend on that. And it can be planned in detail, which means deployment can be planned in detail. We are talking about two parts, right? Uncertainty in development. So this is part of agile. Clarity in terms of deployment. So this is my traditional. We are again talking about hybrid. Of course, we are talking about hybrid because this is our topic. But how do we answer? What kind of mistakes can happen? Okay, so these are the kind of mistakes that can happen. One is that when we look at the question, we might be answering something else while the question is asking something else. Second is that we may assign agile to traditional part and traditional to agile part, which should also not happen. Ultimately, these are the kind of twists that PMP can provide you. Right? So development is agile, deployment is traditional. Let us go through it one by one. Predictive, again, very important. We should always go one by one, never jump. Unless and until you are in the last 10 minutes and you have to do a lot of questions, then you can, but never jump. Always go one by one. Predictive life cycle. Definitely not, because we have to be both agile and traditional, which is also predictive. Predictive deployment and agile development. Agile development, predictive deployment looks like a correct choice. This is what we identified. Agile deployment, no. Deployment should be predictive. Agile lifecycle, no, it has to be hybrid because it talks about both of them. Clear everyone on what are the different ways in which you are going to see hybrid related questions. As you can see, there are different ways in which they will test you, and there will be multiple questions. So it will not be there only one question. There will be multiple questions where you will be seeing questions on hybrid. Okay, as we all know by now that agile and hybrid is somewhere around 60 to 65% of the questions, right, in the exam. So we have to understand it well. It's a good thing because you don't have to study a lot of things in agile and hybrid. Okay, it is all the mindset. If you understand this unclarity part, that itself helps you solve 20-25 questions. Okay, so it's a good thing. You should understand agile and hybrid well. Okay, on a general level, build that mindset. Understand what happens in agile. Understand that we don't follow documentation, we don't do planning. I mean, we focus less on all those things, right? So less documentation, less planning, more of team discussions, right? If you know all those things, you will definitely be able to answer a lot of questions in the exam. Clear, everyone? Helpful today's discussion?
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Can
Arun.
you explain? Can you explain the question again?
Okay. So in this question, in order to overcome the challenges faced due to prevalent pandemic in the world, think about COVID, right? So we are trying to overcome those challenges. Officials decide to roll out a vaccine development and injection drive across the country. So for this COVID, we will be having some vaccine development work going on, and we'll also be putting in injection to everybody in the country, right? Now, the uncertainty in the development of vaccine, right? We all know that vaccine development took time because there was a lot of uncertainty about the disease itself. So there was some uncertainty in terms of development of vaccine. Now, this uncertainty may block the deployment of injection. See, unless and until the development of vaccine has happened, you cannot put the injection into people. You need that vaccine, you need that sample, right? At vaccination centers. However, the deployment is independent of the development, right? Which means that development, the uncertainty that is happening in that development, that is independent. So deployment, which means that you will be putting up centers, you will be putting injections to people, that is independent of what is happening in terms of uncertainty. So, and you can plan in detail once the vaccine is developed. Right? So there are two parts to it. One part is saying that there is an uncertainty in terms of development of vaccine. And second part is saying that the deployment of that vaccine, which means putting in injection, you know your country's population, you know the city in which you are going to go, you can plan every date, every location, and then you can roll it out. That's the two part of the question. Clear, Arun?
Yes, very much.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot for your time. Now we will meet next on Friday at the same time that we started today, and we will be discussing about closing the project. Okay. First, we will discuss what does this mean overall. Okay, because you will see 5 to 7 questions on closing the project, and you will get confused, especially during mock exams. Okay. You must be doing our mock exams, you must be doing other mock exams. It is a little bit confusing. Okay, so first we will discuss the closing the project part, and then we'll try to solve some 5 questions as well on closing.
Hello.
Right, this is what we're going to do on Friday at 7:30 IST, which is India Standard Time. Yes, somebody wanted to talk to me. Yes, anyone?
Amit Vipul here.
Yes, Vipul.
Yes, I have a generic doubt. Basically, if suppose we are using an hybrid approach, and I'm working as a project manager. Okay, I have only one project manager in the project. Okay, so traditionally managing with a single project manager is okay. What if in case of hybrid, if I have to have some hybrid, some agile things to be processed, do we still require those product owner, scrum master, all those philosophies?
Yes.
separate, we can say, separate
Yes.
person. for that?
See what? No, not separate person. You may not need to hire them. Okay. What you will need is, as a project manager, you need to learn what Agile is. If you don't, okay. Typically,
Okay.
because we are getting PMP certified, okay. So we will know. Okay, we will be
Yeah.
above others. Okay, in terms of knowing Agile. So what will happen is that part would be handled, still be managed by us as project
Oh.
managers. Within our team, we will select somebody, okay, to be the entire development team, or if we need somebody to develop that technology, then we hire, if at all, but it will be specific. Generally, within our team itself, we'll form a small Agile team, and salesperson or the product manager will be made the product owner at that point of time.
Okay, because why this question? Because
Yeah.
we will be having a smaller part of the project in Agile way.
Correct.
So for that
Within,
thing,
our team itself, we will
do
try. See, it
Yeah.
all depends on how much money we have, right? In our organization, if we don't have money, we manage within our team, right? So first preference should go to within our team. We should be able to manage it, because you should trust yourself that you will be able to train your team and will be able to manage it. If not, if it comes as an analysis result that we will not be able to do that, then definitely we'll have to hire the entire team separate.
Okay.
Typically,
Either
it won't be
way, it will
required,
work.
because if you are managing the project, then it won't be required. But if at all situation specific, then we will have to hire.
Okay, understood. So either way, as per the project requirement, either way it will work.
Yes, and that could be my answer to every question that you ask. Because
Yeah.
this is the answer for project management, right? And this is not actually project management thing. It's a MBA thing, that every answer to it is it depends.
Correct.
Right? So whatever question you ask me, I will always tell you that it depends on the situation, because the first definition that we learn for project is that every project is unique.
Unique,
Right?
yeah.
So it all depends on those conditions.
Yes, quite clear now. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vipul.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Then I'll see you on Friday at 7:30 p.m. IST. Right, same time that we started today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Amit. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amit.
Thank you so much.